Peace, family, peace, and blessings. Welcome to the show. I'm gonna give everybody a chance a minute to come on in, and as y'all fall in, I'm gonna share this video. I want y'all to do the same for me, please, and thank you. Hit that like button, share this video, and let's have a good conversation. I would like to have a good conversation. So let's see, give people a minute to come on in. I'm gonna share this video. Let's see. Where's my notifications, Facebook? Let's see, where are my notifications? There we go, there's one. There's video. A little slow on it, but that's all right. We share there, share there. Let's see. Share this video on out. And I would like to have a good conversation. As you come in, let me know who you are, where you're listening from. Do me a favor, hit that like button on your way in. It's important to wipe your feet when you come into another man's house. Show some courtesy. Hit that like button, share this video, and let's see if we can have a good conversation. Facebook user, good evening, brother. I don't know who that is, but good evening to you, whoever you are. Appreciate you showing up and spending a little time with me. Do me a favor, hit that like button and share this video. Invite a friend or two. And I'm just trying to give people a minute to come on in as I share this video as well. Let's see. Let's see. Good evening, brother. Who are you, family? Who are you? It just says Facebook user. You trying to remain incognito? Tonight's show is about the Kevin Samuels effect. The good, the bad, and the uncomfortable truth. The good, the bad, and the uncomfortable truth. I want to talk about it. See Harrison Davis watching, my man. Appreciate you. Facebook users, Brother James. Brother James, my man, I hadn't seen you in a while, man. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Y'all smash that like button, share this video, and I'm ready to get into it. We got a few people in here. I don't know how much bigger the audience is going to get, but we're going to share it anyway. We're going to go ahead and get started. So Kiva Beautiful is watching. Kiva Beautiful Soul. How you doing, sis? Because old Travis. All right, let's get into it a little bit. And I want to talk about Kevin Samuels. The Kevin Samuels effect, right? The good, the bad, and the uncomfortable truth. Now, there are a lot of people who say that there was no good, right? There are a lot of people who are absolutely turned off, who were absolutely turned off by his message. And there were a lot of people who loved this message, right? And I say that whether you like it or not, the message and his timing and his presence on these platforms was necessary, right? Because he spoke to a very large audience. I mean, his message resonated so deeply with so many people that it's hard to just dismiss an entire body of people with whom his message resonated so deeply. There were a lot of people who were hurt by his death. And so before I even get any further, man, I want to say respect and condolences to his family and friends, and rest in peace to that brother. A lot of people, you know, I would have my disagreements with some of his ideology, some of his thoughts, his ideas that he shared, and people mistakenly took that to mean that I didn't like him. And I didn't have any dislike for that brother. I simply disagreed with some of his ideas, and really it was really that simple. And I listened to quite a bit of him when he first came out, and I got some value from some of the things he was saying. And so with that, I'm gonna slide into the good first. See, Harrison Davis says Kevin Samuels exposed some realities within the Black community, particularly male-female relationships. I agree with that 100%. What realities would you suggest that he exposed, Harrison? I agree with that 100%. I think he did expose some realities. I think he provoked some very necessary conversations. Right? He says complicated gender roles. Yeah, I'll agree with that. He provoked some very necessary conversations, family. And a lot of it, I would say the bulk of it was aimed at women. Women were on the receiving end of a lot of that criticism. And not all of it was unjustified. As a matter of fact, I would go so far as to say that a good bit of it was justified. Here's one. And being in this relationship space, I teach and I coach couples. I provide counseling. I help primarily couples and men, right? Single and married men. And so in my doing, one of the things that Kevin Samuels brought to the forefront was the question of, okay, women want a large number of women, a large percentage of women want a certain type of man. They typically want the better performing men, or what has been termed high value men. And I don't like the term personally. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of. I don't think it's a very constructive term personally. I'll get into some reasons for that a little later on in the show. And for the record, I qualify, right? But I still don't think the term, just like the term alpha male, I think it's useless. I think it has its place, the term high value man. I get it. But as it pertains to especially people, heavily melanated people like American Black people, that term dismisses a lot of us, the overwhelming majority. As a matter of fact, I would say probably better than 85% don't even qualify. So that means, like I said, I'll get into that part later. Kiva says the disconnect between the masculine and the feminine energies. Yep, he exposed that. He He did that. So one of the see Facebook user, that's my man James. He said, "May Kevin Samuels rest in peace. I hate this happened, but he didn't expose no more than Louis Farrakhan has been exposing for decades." You know what? I can rock with that. He exposed it in a different way. He spoke to a different demographic than Louis Farrakhan did. So for those who've never listened to Farrakhan, Kevin had their ear. And that was, he had over 1 million subscribers. So his message resonated with a lot of people, right? Let me get into this a little bit. One of the things he talked about is women, what they look for in men. And I don't have a problem with women looking for what they look for in men, whatever floats your boat, right? But one of the important questions that he put a spotlight on was, okay, this is what you want from a man. What do you understand what that man might want from you? And he, it was like he was shining that light for the first time in many people's eyes, because there were a lot of women who would call into his show, who would be guests on his show, and they had never even considered the question of, okay, yes, I want this man who makes $100,000+ a year, who's 6 feet tall, who has options of, maybe some of the most beautiful women in the country, in the world. And so I want him, but what is it about me that would make him want me? And I think, and equally important, what is it that he even looks for in a woman? And I think that I think that stirred an important conversation, because there were a lot of women seemingly who hadn't been analyzing that. Like, what would a man of that caliber, or any man for that matter, what is a man looking for in a woman? And equally important, do I offer that? And so I thought that was a very important and poignant point, very salient point that he brought up. He he wasn't the origin of that thought, but I think that conversation wasn't being had as much as it's being had now. Harrison says, call it what you want, but the issue is real. Sisters want confident and productive men with masculine energy. I agree. But that doesn't always equate to a man making $100,000+ a year. You can have very confident and productive men with masculine energy who might make 75,000. He might be an auto mechanic, for instance, and he can make 50,000. I'm saying when you put, and especially when you consider the fact that the average black man only makes about $42,000 to $45,000 a year, that means that you're greenlighting this idea that the average black man isn't good enough for the average black woman, right? And so I don't know. I think that term, or even, and then check this out, Harrison. I'll even go so far as to say this: so many men were championing that idea, this high value man, and the overwhelming majority of the men who were championing that idea didn't qualify for it. So it's like, most men were cheerleading a cause that they really didn't belong to, by default disqualifying themselves in a sense. And I don't know. I just think that there are more constructive ways to have conversations about what men and women need from each other. I guess that's my larger point. Yeah, James says absolutely. So let's see. Harrison says, and many sisters never figured out what they have to offer a man besides sex. Absolutely. There are a lot of women who have a hard time articulating what it is that they bring to the proverbial table, right? What it is that they offer a man besides sex. And I think, again, these are important and necessary conversations that were stirred, because we need to have these conversations on both sides. We really do. He also highlighted that women, in this same vein, that women tend to be a little pickier when it comes to men than men are when it comes to women. And I don't think we even have to analyze that very deeply. We know that men tend to be a lot less picky. I'll say that. Now, there are some men who are very selective, sure, but the average man is not nearly as picky. And let's see. Harrison says, these are complicated dynamics between black men and black women. Yeah, for sure. They are. They're very complicated. And I think it's important that we begin to deconstruct some of these things, because they don't have to be that complicated. They really don't. It really is meant to be much more organic and much simpler than what we've been conditioned to look for. And you can see that even you can take two different stages. You can take boys and girls at the earliest stages, as puberty, at the onset of puberty, and the chemistry is organic, and it's you can feel the tension. It's so magnetic, and we're not even, of course, it's still early in life, and so we haven't been hit with many of the superficial things that we begin to look for later on in life. But again, that chemistry is very organic, and it's very simple. It's as simple as boy meets girl. If I like you and you like me, we have somewhat of an attraction. Man, that's as organic as it gets. And then later on in life, after we go through the stages of earning and failures and disappointments and frustrations and resentments and so on, sometimes later in life, we tend to come back down to earth. And we just want somebody that's going to be good to us, man. We just want somebody that's going to treat us good, treat us right. Hey, look, be honest with me. I'm going to be honest with you. You got my back. I got your back. It comes back down to that level of, hey, we're tired of the games and we just want something that's real. And oftentimes, of course, we don't land in that zone to, maybe 50s, sometimes even later. And but it's just a reminder or a reinforcement of what we experienced when we were younger, at the onset of puberty. I think in the middle, between puberty and between, those later years, 50s and so on, I think the waters get very murky and people get tied up and caught up into too many of the superficial things. And, it complicates relationships for sure. Another thing he pointed out is that men and women can both be very unrealistic in the pursuit of what they consider happiness or a healthy relationship. You know, women tend to, you know, again, a lot of people think women are hypergamous by nature. I could argue that, but that's a different conversation for a different day. There are a lot of women who are hypergamous. Just means they want the best option, the most attractive option, and that tends to come with, you know, financial means, more money. And there's an argument to be made for that for sure. But again, in the pursuit of that, sometimes they're a little bit on the unrealistic side, and they want things that really don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And then on the other side, you could argue that men can be pretty unrealistic too, especially when it comes to the value that we place on a woman's looks. I'm not advocating for a man to be with a woman that he's unattracted to. That's silly, right? We want to be attracted. But how much is enough, right? Does she have to be a 10? Does she have to be a 9? Or can she be, you know, a 6, 6.5, maybe even a 7, but she's really, really good to you? Can she be a 5.5, 6, but she's really good to you and offers all of these things: a high quality mother, a high quality wife, and just a hell of a helpmeet and support system, right? At some point, you know, we tend to get a little bit blinded by a big butt and a smile, and sometimes that takes way too much of a too much precedence over what's real, right? As y'all come in, man, hit that like button, smash that like button, and share this video. I want to have a good conversation. Harrison says, when a woman makes 100,000 or more a year, she can expect her man to match her ambition and productivity. Yeah, I mean, you can expect what you want. At the end of the day, a woman who's making $100,000 a year, if she's looking for a man who's making 100,000 plus a year, then, you know, she narrows down considerably her dating options, her marrying options, because again, the overwhelming majority of men do not make that, black, white, or otherwise. You're talking about top 10, 15%. So, you know, like I said, want what you want, but it is what it is. Arinthio Scott says, when men say they can pay someone to cook, clean, and have sex with, they don't like, respect, or honor women in their lives. Hold on, let me take a sip on that one. I saw a video recently of a young brother. He was having a conversation with a woman, and he was asking her, what do you bring to the table? And she said, you know, basically some of the things that Arinthio just named. You know, she can cook, she can clean, she makes a house a home. You know, she was just listing some of the feminine things or the different things that women tend to bring to the table. And he was like, I can hire somebody to do this. I can cook my own food. I can iron my own clothes. He was basically rationalizing his way out of the necessity of having a woman, right? Or even the importance of having a woman. And so to the point that, you know, Arinthio was just making here, if you can rationalize, if you can come up with all these different reasons why you don't need a woman, then I agree with you. Don't have one. Get a body pillow. Right? If you don't want one that bad that you have to come up with all these different reasons and these justifications for not having one, don't get one. But for those of us who like a little bit of softness next to us, who just so happens to be able to cook and can clean and iron and nurture and cater and all these other things, hey man, I'm with you 110%. Let's see. James says, but what if she's a 6 to you, but an 8 to me? Who's right? Hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. A 6 to me might very well be an 8 to you or a 10 to you, right? We got to judge for ourselves what's important. And this is the issue that I have with terms like high value, because value is subjective and it's relative. People place all kinds of values on, or all kinds of value on diamonds. We don't give a damn about diamonds around here. We don't wear diamonds. I don't even wear gold, right? I own a little bit of, you know, gold and a little bit of silver, but I don't wear that stuff around. You know, I don't be flashy with you, man. My ring is, I don't know, what is this, tungsten or something? I don't care about that stuff. And I can afford it. I just don't care. So is it worth $2, $3, $5, $10,000 to me? Nah. But to the next person, you know, it ain't even to a lot of people, it's not even a real wedding ring if it's not at least 1 carat, 2, 3 carats. So It's in the eye of the beholder. It's what you want, right? So again, to that point, brother James, if she's a 6 and you dig it, man, I say rock with it. Renthio says a real woman can make a house a home. Man, listen, I, I think men are such simple creatures, man. And my house is fly. I got a really nice house, but I wouldn't have this house. I wouldn't have even bought this house if my wife didn't. Now I'm glad that I have it, and I'm glad my wife is a genius at decorating. I mean, man, if I showed you what my house looked like, you would think I was bragging. So I'm gonna fall back from that a little bit. But suffice to say, it's nice. It's got a real nice touch in it. She decorates beautifully. I wouldn't do none of that stuff if it was. Man, I would probably live in a little bitty studio, maybe a little loft or something. Very basic and meager accommodations because I wouldn't really care. But the fact that I have it now, when I walk in, I'm like, damn, this is fly. And it smells good and it's comfortable. I mean, I got couches and chairs that I wouldn't otherwise have. I probably have a beanbag chair from Walmart or something. That's how simple men tend to be. But when a woman puts her touch on the thing, man, I'm telling you that it adds a level of comfort and desirability that we don't generate on our own. Not usually, not typically. There are some men who can, but generally, we're a lot simpler, and we don't typically care about that stuff. Not as much. Kiva says, trust me, if her spirit and character is valuable, she may be a 6, but after you connect with her mentally and emotionally, she's going to look like a 10. Listen, I can smoke a bag of that. Because look, one of the things that tends to happen with male-female relating, and it's not so much men's fault as much as it's a thing that's comfortable in society, right? Say James says, I'm like you. Yes, sir. I keep it simple, man. Yeah. It's, they can't sell you a set of tires without putting a woman in a bikini. Everything is sex. Even when you're watching the Olympic Games, country against country, men have on shorts and pants, but women got the little bikinis on, got their breasts out, got their cheeks out. Everything is hypersexualized. So it's hard to blame men for being so sexually charged, just at the very idea of, or the very mention of a woman. We're conditioned to be that way. Doesn't make it right. It just is what it is. And it's hard to fight that programming when they're constantly bombarding you with these images. Everywhere you go, you're being encouraged to, look at some kind of porn. You got all kinds of Instagram models and, everybody's shaking their backside and doing all, I get it. Here's part of the problem, though. We often lead into relationships with sex being at the very forefront. Like, sex is beautiful. I get it. I love it. Can't get enough of it. All that stuff. I'm just like the next man in that regard. But here's the thing, man. Sex is good for the same reason that fruit is sweet. I'm going to say it again. Sex is good for the same reason that fruit is sweet. It's to ensure the survival of our species. Now, how many acrobatics and tricks we can do in addition to that, that is what it is. But there's a reason for it, right? And there's a few different reasons, actually, but this ain't about that. This show ain't about that. I get into that another time. I want to get back on track. Got me off a little bit. Another thing I liked about what Kevin Samuels mentioned was how can I say this? He said it like this one day. He said, it's not about love. It's about finding somebody who you can be good to them. They can be good to you. You hammer out a deal and you make it work. Now, on paper, to a lot of people, that sounds great. He made it seem like feelings were irrelevant, though, and that's the challenge. Because on the one hand, I do agree that marriage, a large part of marriage is about duty, right? It's about fulfilling your obligation. Marriage is indeed about duty. Love is even much about duty, but not at the expense of feelings. You have to understand that feelings are the fuel that your relationship needs to carry out that duty. You understand what I'm saying? Feelings are the fuel that the relationship or that the marriage needs in order to carry out that duty. Watch this. This is how you know that's true. I don't care what society you go to. Let's go to some of the ancient societies like China, where the divorce rate is very low, or India, where the divorce rate is very low. There's a reason why people persevere through the hardships, because you can believe that they have hardships in their marriages too. But there's a reason that they persevere through those hardships. And the reason is because if they fail at marriage, they're not the only ones that failed. The family fails, right? The culture fails. The community fails. So it's bigger than just how the individuals in the marriage feel. It's an embarrassment to the family when they fail, you see? And so part of the feelings that fuel them staying together is the embarrassment that they'll feel if they fail. You understand what I'm saying? Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. So, let's see. Harrison says, wait, hold on. Kevin Samuels understood that drama, just like sex, sells, and he capitalized on it. Yeah, I agree. Look, one thing about Kevin Samuels, he did what a lot of content creators struggle to do. Man, that brother worked the internet and worked social media like nobody's business. He was a genius at it. And so, do I believe that he believed everything that he talked about? Not necessarily. I don't think that he necessarily subscribed to it, but he mastered the pulling at the heartstrings, and that's what it takes. Like, I'm not so great at that, right? I think I'm reasonably intelligent and I can connect some dots, but I'm not so sensational. I'm not, I don't. What he did was remarkable. The way he grew his audience in under 2 years to over 1.5 million subscribers. That's something, man. That's a blueprint, And so he took advantage of it for sure. Let's see. Vanessa Taylor says, yes, you're making sense. I appreciate that. Harrison says, I got the impression that he wanted couples to add practicality and emotions when picking a mate. Yeah. You have to be practical, man. You have to be practical and curtail your emotions. Like, keep your emotions in check. Emotions make great servants, but horrible masters, right? And so, practicality, that's a beautiful way of saying that, man. Add practicality to the emotions when picking a mate, and that's not easy to do. And one of the reasons it's not easy to do is because people are not really all that good at making an honest and accurate self-assessment. Most people are not good at making an accurate and honest self-assessment. Most people are not accurate when it comes to assessing what they bring to the table, what value. Everybody looks in the mirror and thinks that they look good, right? Everybody thinks that they're smart. How many times you hear people really believe that look, let me say, I'm gonna be nice when I say this. I've met some very below average intelligent people, but you can't convince them that they're not as smart as some of the smartest people you've ever met, right? So there are a lot of people who think they deserve more than what they're able to get, right? So when it comes to being practical, in addition to the emotions when picking a mate, I think being as accurate as we can and as honest as we can in these self-assessments, man, I think that's where we struggle. Kiva says he mastered the argument of it all. Yeah, he did. He promoted staying in your lane. I like that. Yeah, he did. He did that. Kiva says, truth, to thine own self be true. Listen, if you can't be true with yourself, right? I used to tell my daughter all the time, she say, sometimes I'm a little bit forward with my message, right? Sometimes I'm a little bit aggressive or maybe even a little bit harsh with my message. But my point isn't to be harsh. My point is to be as honest as I can, as truthful as I can with your feelings in mind, right? And one of the things I used to say is, look, I'm your daddy. And if I can't be honest with you, who can? Right? If I can't keep it a stack with you, man, you're going to have trouble getting that same truth from anybody if you can't get it from me. And because I care about you winning, right? So anyway, let me move on. Again, I like the fact that he talked about marriage being a duty and he shattered these fantastical notions of the Disney marriage, right? Like people have all these wild fantasies that marriage is all bliss and roses, and no, man, that's where the idea of duty comes in, and persevering through those hard times. And so I like how he highlighted the ideas of being practical and pressing the issue of duty. I also liked how, as much as women might have hated the beauty scale, the ranking scale, and I had challenges with it too, right? But the reality is, men are attracted to the physical beauty of women. Women are attracted to, but again, one of the since men are the primary pursuers, it's incumbent upon women to present a better version of themselves so that men would be more likely to approach. He had this one sister on the show. Now, she might have even been a white lady. I think she was a white lady. She was like 5'3", 5'4", something like that, 300 pounds, and she had 3 children. And she was saying how, she wanted a high value man, a so-called high value man, a high earning man. And, if you think about it, a high earning man who doesn't have, especially if he doesn't have any children, he's got some options. Even if he does have children, a high earning man, he's got a much broader range of options than a man who doesn't earn that. And the chances of him picking, I'm not saying that she can't get one. Stranger things have happened. But generally speaking, a man with those kind of options is going to exercise those options. And he's probably not in the market for a 5'3", 300 pound woman. But, she was having a hard time with that. And so one of the things that I appreciated about some of those types of conversations is that he challenged women to be more realistic about what they wanted. And then he also challenged them to present themselves as a better looking and more physically fit and healthy option for men to be attracted to. And I appreciated that. He also pushed men to strive to be more physically, not physically, but financially responsible. And towards the effort, not just to have money, but towards the effort of being prepared to support a wife and children. I like that. One thing I did like about him too is that he promoted family. He promoted marriage, right? So those are some good things. I saw a post. And it was it outlined some things that Kevin Samuels said about men. He said beta men with beta traits are not suitable for wives because they can't protect their women. That's one. Beta men with beta traits are not suitable for wives because they cannot protect their women. Now listen, I have my challenges with the alpha and beta thing. I don't think it applies to humans, but I understand where he's going with that, so we don't have to dissect that. Number 2, he said unmarried men are looked at as unstable. Unmarried men are looked upon as unstable, which is ironic because he was unmarried. But, be that as it may, I still like that he outlined that. He said men that date women with no intentions to marry them are jokesters. They're not to be taken seriously. All right. People don't know that he came out the gate and he had a lot of harsh criticisms, a lot of strong yet constructive criticisms for men. Challenge was he wasn't very well received when all that heat was aimed at men. He didn't really catch fire until he started focusing that criticism and shining that spotlight on women's deficiencies. And then that's when, jokers came out the woodworks, right? Harrison says he was equally critical of black men. Yep, that's what I'm highlighting right now. For sure, he was. James says, Kevin Samuels talked a lot about women and accountability. Why do men get so upset when they say women don't hold themselves accountable? I mean, men get so in their feelings. Why? Let me read that again. He talked a lot about women and accountability. Why do men get so upset when they say women don't hold themselves accountable? One of the narratives that's being pushed is that you can't say nothing to a black woman. You can't hold black women accountable. And I think that's just nonsense, man. I don't have any problems holding my woman accountable. And I know maybe I'm an anomaly. I don't know, Brother James. You tell me. Do you have any challenges holding your woman accountable? I don't think that you see, because a lot of women have double standards. Yes. Well, look, society has double standards. It ain't just the women, it's society that has double standards. It really is. Men have double standards too. We can go and we can sleep with as many women as we want, and we're a player. If she sleeps with more than we find desirable, then she's a hoe. Just saying, that's a double standard. It just is what it is. Society has double standards. Brother James says not at all. He doesn't have any trouble holding his woman accountable. And that's what I'm saying, man. I think if you want to talk turkey, right? Like, I'm showing my age, talk turkey. If you want to keep it 100, the absolute best way to hold anybody accountable is if you have some sort of relationship with them where there's some level of respect for you and what you think. So if I try to call you out on something, you say, hey, you know what, you're right. I take that back, or I stand corrected, or whatever. That's holding you accountable. But the only way you're going to do that is if you have a level of respect for me, or there's some sort of relationship in which you care about how I feel about what you just did or what you just said. You can't hold, there's no such thing as holding all Black women accountable just by getting on the internet and talking shit. I mean, all you're doing is getting on the internet and talking shit. You're just bashing for the sake of bashing. Maybe you feel good about it or whatever. But no, you're not holding people accountable because you're getting on the internet and calling names and talking a bunch of trash. That's silly, right? But you can hold somebody accountable if you're in a relationship in which there is a level of respect that takes place between those two people. Let's see. Harrison says, and men are not good at banter and we get exhausted. Yeah, man. We tap out, man. Women have, what they say, the average woman has something like 14,000 words in her daily data bank, and the average man has like 7,000 or something like that. Plus we just don't have the energy for, a whole lot of back and forth. Anyway, we're not built like that. And so ultimately, I think what Harrison is getting at is we want peace. We want peace. That's the bottom line. And so we're looking for the simplest path toward resolving whatever the issue is, rather than remaining engaged in the ongoing back and forth. I win, I get the last word. We don't want all that. Not generally. We don't want all that. Harrison said, yep. And let's see what else he said. Let's see. Men that are average are only subjected to get average or below average women. These are points that Kevin Samuels made out, right? Men that are average to get, or only subject to get average or below average women. And there's a whole breakdown for that. We can go into that, but suffice to say, I agree with that. Because again, women are pickier. I'll just summarize by saying that. Men that don't make enough money to provide for themselves shouldn't even date. Now, this is him being critical of men, right? Saying men that don't make enough money to provide for themselves shouldn't even date. Here's another one. Men that have no leadership skills have no husband qualities. I agree with that. Men that have no leadership skills have no husband qualities. Here's another one. Women aren't the enemy. Socially awkward beta men need to work on their approach towards meeting women. Women are not the enemy. Socially awkward beta males need to work on their approach on meeting women. These are Kevin Samuels' words, and I agree with that. Women are not the enemy. As a matter of fact, women are here to be a complementary component to our lives. And here's the last one. He said, men that are not in control of their emotions have no ability to be in control of a family. I'm going to read that one again. Men that are not in control of their emotions have no ability to be in control of a family. And he had all kinds of other things that he said. But the point is, he used to charge men to do, quite a bit of upgrading, leveling up. Now, here's the other side. That's the good. Here's some of the things that I disagree with. I don't think it's constructive to promote ideals like high value men, because high value is subjective and it's relative. Just like, some scale, like James mentioned, a 6 versus an 8, right? I think that a 6 to some might be an 8 to somebody else. And somebody might think that this woman is a dime piece. Let's say Beyonce. Somebody might think Beyonce is super fine. To me, I think she's nice looking, but she ain't all that to me. And that ain't no knock on her. You like what you like, but the point I'm making is value is what value is. I don't buy diamonds, but the next man and the next woman might break their neck to get some diamonds. It is what it is. I think value is subjective. But here's the thing. Malcolm X didn't make six figures. Was he a low value man? I would argue that he's as high value a man as we've seen in this society, Malcolm X. Even his greatest enemy, J. Edgar Hoover, said that Malcolm X was a saint. This guy lived like a monk. He was as clean as they come. One of the most honorable men. And he had so much surveillance on that brother and was doing his best to take him down and destroy his image. But again, to the point of high value, I think value is subjective and it's about what's important to you. Do I think money is important? Yeah, but money is a tool, right? Money is only a tool to amplify or to make comfortable, to add comfort to your life. But I don't think that it's healthy or constructive to base relationships squarely on, somebody making six figures. Let's see. Here's another one. Here's another bad part, right? Rest in peace, Kevin Samuels. I'm not dragging that brother at all. Like I said, I did not dislike Kevin Samuels. I just disagreed with some of his ideology. Y'all do me a favor. If you hadn't already, hit that like button, share this video. Harrison says Kevin Samuels had some good points. Absolutely, he did. And he provoked some very necessary conversation. Robert Lee says this was the first time that the same heat that men heard online about the shortfall of men, Kevin gave the same heat to women. Most women couldn't handle the raw truth. Let me deal with that one. I don't know that it was the truth that women couldn't handle. There were a lot of women who weren't necessarily upset with Kevin because of the truth that he was speaking. There were a lot of women who were upset with him because of how he delivered his message. And people say, F your feelings, right? But Maya Angelou said, people might forget what you said, they might forget what you did, but they will never forget how you make them feel, right? People might forget what you said, people might forget what you did, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And so it was very important to a lot of people, a lot of men and women, how they felt as a result of the things that he shared, right? And I'll give you an even more personal example. I used to listen to him. I would be playing some of the stuff in the house. And my wife used to say, why are you listening to him? She didn't like the way he talked to women. She didn't like the things that he said about women. And none of that stuff applied to her. None of it. So again, it's not just about the truth as much as sometimes it's also, look, there are some people who don't like the truth. I'm not saying that everybody, was receptive to truth. I'm saying that there are a lot of people who those things didn't even apply to, and even they didn't like it, right? And so, that's the thing. Marcus says, no, they couldn't handle the truth. Yeah, I disagree. Harrison says, women did not like his harshness. Yeah. Look, man, you don't talk to women the same way that you talk to men. I don't talk to a woman the same way. When I talk to a man, I'm a little bit more rough around, not even rough necessarily, but just, I don't know, man. Men don't talk to men the same way that men talk to women. I don't even think that has to be explained, right? Harrison says harsh demeanor. Yeah. My wife says his delivery was horrible. Yep. It was tough. And there, not always, there are times where, I've seen him have reasonable and respectful dialogue with women, but oftentimes, it was terrible. Calling them out of their name, calling them, bees and, all kinds of stuff, and then the fat jokes and, again, man, there's a such thing as delivering truth, but truth without compassion is brutality. I'm gonna say it again. Truth without compassion is brutality. That's why they call it brutal honesty. And there is no room for brutal honesty in a loving relationship. I am very direct with my wife. I can bring anything to my wife, but I'm mindful about how I bring it. Because first and foremost, I want the results that I'm looking for. And secondly, I don't want her being bitter towards me about how I made her feel in the moment when I delivered whatever the message was, that maybe I needed her to correct something, or maybe I needed her to do something better, or maybe I had a criticism. I want that criticism to be constructive in a way that builds her, not tears her down. I can say, damn, you don't do nothing right. Or I can say, hey, you know what would be better is if you did it this way. And she might say, oh yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I like that. Two different, same damn point, two different methods. I'm gonna get what I want, and she gonna do service. She gonna give me service with a smile. You see what I'm saying? So you don't have to be brutally honest. That's a fool's goal. Marcus says those people who it didn't apply to lie to women also. Yeah, I mean that is what it is. People do lie, but it's not really about lying. It's about the delivery of the message and the fact that feelings are important. And people tell this lie, man. Look, people tell this lie all the time. They say men are logical, women are emotional, right? Men are logical, women are emotional. Biggest lie ever told. It's some emotion. Look, there wouldn't be so many men upset and hurt and in their feelings right now about the death of Kevin Samuels if men weren't also very emotional. We are all emotional beings. That's my point. We are all emotional beings, and we each have varying degrees of expressing levels of logic. But all of us are emotional beings. All of us. Men cry. Men get their feelings hurt. Men face depression. Men commit suicide at a higher rate than women do. These are all emotional things, family. Men are very emotional. So miss me with the nonsense that men are not emotional. And so with that in mind, you communicate accordingly, man. And I don't know. I'll leave that there. My wife says, I would have listened had he been respectful. Yeah, I believe that. I believe that. Truth with compassion is brutal. No, I said truth without compassion is brutality. Truth without compassion is brutality. That's why they call it brutal honesty. And there is no room for brutal honesty or brutality in a loving relationship. Now, people say, I had a buddy tell me, he's like, man, you be simping. You be simping. Hold on, let me wet my whistle. Brother told me that I be simping. Listen, man, my wife is right here in the chat, and she'll vouch for this. I can get anything I want from my wife. My wife will do literally anything that I ask her to do. Am co-sign that, Mrs. Jackson? Agree with me. She will do any and everything I ask her to do for me. Of course, I'm not asking her to do no goofy shit, right? I'm saying it's simping if you're doing all these things and you can't get the results from a woman that you want. That's when it's simping. When you just cupcaking and saying all kind of nice things, trying to gain favor with a woman, but you're not getting any of these things. I don't have to simp. I get everything I want from my woman. And when I share with men different perspectives of where she at, she said, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I get everything or anything I want from my woman. I hardly ever hear the answer no. And not only that, she does more for me than I even asked for. So, he says, your wife is uncommon. You know what? I'll say it this way, Marcus. The way I treat my wife is what's less common. The interaction that I have with my wife is what's less common. My wife, no question, no argument that she's a good woman. Hell, I would even go so far as to say an awesome woman. But I was on my way to ruining that too. I tell this story all the time. I was ruining my marriage. She was awesome 20 years ago when I was ruining my marriage. I've been married 31 years. 25 years ago, she was ready to leave me, and she was awesome then. So it's not so much that she's just so uncommon. The way I interact with her is what helps to provoke. Look at this. She says, absolutely, I would, with pleasure. Service with a smile. She didn't feel that way 25 years ago. She was ready to leave me. 4 kids, and she was on her way out the door because I was a jerk, right? I had a lot of ideas that these cats in the manosphere be talking, right? I'm supposed to lead. I'm supposed to put my foot down. I'm supposed to this, that, and the third. what I say goes. You follow my lead. And yeah. I wasn't thinking in terms of a cooperative effort. I was not thinking in terms of establishing harmony in my home, right? Doing what's not only good for me, but also what makes her feel good about the arrangement. You got a lot of guys out here, man, that don't know what it's like to have a woman who's excited about being his wife. My woman, 31 years, and she's still excited about being my wife. Still smiles at me every day when I walk in the door. Still asks me not to even go to work. I'm saying it ain't because the only reason isn't because she's uncommon. Part of it is that our relationship dynamic is uncommon, and that's what I try to share, man. Ain't nothing special about me. Ain't nothing special about us. The same, maybe not the same thing, because I've been with her since high school, but the type of harmony that we experience in our relationship is the type of harmony that's available to damn near any relationship if you understand what the conditions of love are, man. He says, but you acknowledge she's uncommon. I would say she's uncommon from, yeah. There are some things that's very uncommon. Yeah, for sure. I would grant that. But again, what I also acknowledge is that even with as uncommon as she might be, she's not rare, right? Listen, I hear, look, when I talk to Brother James, he's right here in the chat. When I talk to him, he says some of the same things that I say about my wife. He says the same things about his wife. Brother Garthion says the similar things that I say about my wife. Brother John McClung, is he in the chat? He says similar things that I say about my wife. Who else? I got friends, bro. That's Brother Lennon Honor. He says very similar things about his wife. I'm saying it's not as uncommon as you might think. What is uncommon is the type of interaction that we've established, a healthy way of relating to one another. That's what's more uncommon than anything else. And I think a lot of us miss that, man. Let me see. He said, nah, she's rare. All right. Hey, have it your way, bro. Whatever helps you sleep. Harrison says, you two are a good match. Kevin Samuels wanted others to find a good match with the mate. Man, listen, I want the same thing. I don't help people find matches. Your job is to find your own match. But I'm telling you, bring me your match. You come to me with your match, and I'm telling you, I will help you work that thing out. Because look, I could ride off in the sunset with mine and be just as happy. But I'm paying it forward, man. I have a gift. And I want other brothers to have what I have. Seriously. Not exactly what I have, because that's mine. You got to get your own. But I'm saying I want other brothers to experience the type of harmony. Brothers and sisters, I want y'all to experience the type of harmony that's available, man. But we got to know what the conditions are, man. Conditions have to be met. I just made a post yesterday. Love doesn't just flow out of the heart in a natural, organic way, the way we think that it's supposed to. It's deeper than that, man. Much of it is our programming when we're children. And then the other part of it depends on how well we're able to cultivate that programming when we're in relationship with these people. And that's what it's about. So that's what my job is, man. I help you figure out what it is that helps you get the most out of that marriage. Victoria says, you have earned the respect of your wife. You cater to her just as much as she caters to you. Absolutely. I cater to my woman. There is nothing. Listen to me good, man. I just said that there's nothing she won't do for me. I will do damn near anything for my wife. To the moon and back, man. There's if it's within my means to get what she asked me for, it's as simple as her asking, and it's hers. That's real. That's what you call reciprocity. And she had the courage to go first. I wasn't thinking like that when we first got together. I was thinking, man, rap music raised me. Ain't no girl getting over on me, right? I ain't giving her nothing, But she went first. She was like, nah, I'm going to show you what unselfishness looks like. And, I saw that if I didn't reciprocate, then I was going to lose. And I'm so selfish that I didn't want to lose what she was doing. So I started reciprocating. You understand what I'm saying? Marcus says, yeah, dudes feel like they have to say it. Wait, what? Yeah. Dudes feel like they have to say that it is true or not. I'm not sure what you mean, brother. Expound on that. And I'm gonna go on to this next issue that I have. Daryl Jones, here's another brother. He says, I cater to my wife and she caters to me. It takes intentionality. Another brother who has a wonderful relationship. I'm telling you, man, there are a lot of brothers out here who are experiencing very high levels of harmony in their relationship with their women. It is not as rare as you might think. What's rare is, or what's not common enough, because it's not rare. What's uncommon, what's not common enough is the level of understanding that it takes to pull that out, to cultivate that type of dynamic relating, that relationship dynamic between men and women. That's what's not common enough. Right? And I get it. These days, people are off the chain. I wouldn't want to be single. I wouldn't want to be single. I wouldn't want to be out there right now. I know it's rough out there. Right. But I'm saying a lot of people have good women. I'm living proof, right? A lot of us brothers have good women and we don't know how to cultivate what it takes. And a lot of sisters have good men and they don't know what it takes to cultivate that. Bring your relationship to me. You can do it. I can help. I stole that slogan from Home Depot. You can do it. I can help. Let me see. What else? Here's another thing, man. Watch this. Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal is arguably the most dominant big man that the game of basketball has ever seen. Shaquille O'Neal is arguably the most dominant basketball player the game has ever seen. Now, you might add Will Chamberlain or whatever, but in my lifetime of watching ball, no more dominant a player than Shaquille O'Neal. Down low, big man, unstoppable damn near, right? Just as far as his ability to dominate the game. Steph Curry is arguably, maybe even inarguably, the most prolific shooter the game has ever seen. Money from three, wherever. The most prolific shooter in the history of the game. With as good as they are at those professions, Shaquille O'Neal can't make a free throw to save his life. And I think in his whole career, he might have hit maybe one three-pointer. The whole career, right? He's not an all-around basketball player, but he's an amazingly dominant big man, right? If I want to learn how to shoot three-pointers or to perfect my jump shot, I'm not talking to Shaquille O'Neal, the most dominant man in the history of the game, and I'm not talking to him about working on my jump shot. Why? Because that's not his lane. You see, if I want to learn how to post up, grab rebounds, box out, do the big man game in the paint, I'm talking to Shaq. Outside of that, I'm not talking to Shaq. If I want to learn how to shoot, I'm going to Steph Curry. Conversely, if I want to learn how to play the game in the paint, I'm not talking to Steph Curry. I'm talking to Shaq. Why? Because that's not Steph Curry's lane. That doesn't mean that he doesn't know anything about what it means to play down low. That doesn't mean that Shaq doesn't know anything about how to do the jump shot, but I'm talking about when it comes to being masters of their craft, Steph Curry is the master of the jump shot, the most prolific shooter in the history of the game. Shaq is a master of the big boy ball, right? Big boy ball, down low, in the paint, unbeatable. Here's my point. You have a lot of people out here talking about relationships and they've never experienced a healthy or successful one, right? That would be like me wanting to learn how to shoot free throws. That's another thing. Steph Curry, money from the free throw line, can't miss. Probably 90-something%. I don't even remember what his numbers are, right? I'm not going to Shaq to learn how to shoot free throws. I'm not talking to somebody about relationships. I'm not taking relationship advice from somebody who's never been successful at having a healthy relationship. This is one of the challenges that I had with Kevin Samuels. It's one, look, Mike Tyson said, there was an interview leading up to a fight with Mike Tyson, right? And the guy was talking about how he was going to keep Mike Tyson at the end of his jab. I'm taller than him, so I'm going to keep him at the end of my jab. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to do all that. That's my plan. Mike Tyson said, everybody got a plan until they get punched in the face. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Everybody can theorize about what successful marriage is supposed to look like, what harmonious relating is supposed to look like. Everybody has these fantastical ideas about what it takes to make a marriage work. But they ain't never seen it. They ain't never seen it. They ain't never experienced it. They might have seen it on TV. They might have seen their friends seen their friends that look like they had one. But when you get in the marriage, that's the equivalent to Mike Tyson punching you in the face. That's when real time happens. So you can theorize all you want about what it takes to make free throws, right? Shaq can theorize all day about what it takes to make free throws. I ain't seen him make that many. He can theorize all day about what it takes to make a three-point shot. I ain't seen him make them. I'm not talking to Shaq about that. And I'm not talking to men who have not experienced successful relationships about what it takes to make a successful relationship happen. You see what I'm saying? It's disingenuous. It's damn near hypocritical. I'm not saying he didn't mean well, but he didn't know what the hell he was talking about when it came to a lot of that. Now, he's probably a master at what it looks like in the single dating market. I ain't got no arguments for that. I ain't been single in over 30 years. So I don't have anything to offer or very little to offer about what it means to be single. But when it comes to this marriage shit, you can't touch me. Not him. Most men can't touch me because I know what that looks like. I've been doing it for 3 decades, over 3 decades. So I know what harmonious relating looks like. You see what I'm saying? Let's see. Harrison says, good point. Daryl said, yep, he had 2 divorces. He did. Marcus is laughing at me. Famous quote. Yep. Everybody got a plan until they get punched in the face. Yep. Kevin Samuels could not live the life he promoted. No, he couldn't. And that, I'm not knocking that brother for being unable to do that. Hell, most of us are not able to do that. But what I'm saying is we got to start normalizing modeling success, man, not modeling great sounding ideas. Like, come on, man, stop that shit. It's silly. If success leaves clues, man. Success leaves clues. I'm not going to a failed business professional to learn how to run my business. That's not to say that he can't offer maybe some valuable insights. He can. But I want to skip past as many hurdles as I can. So I'm going to a successful business professional. Let me see. Does that mean he was wrong? Hell yeah, it means he was wrong. He was wrong in a lot of areas. Yeah, he was absolutely wrong in a lot of areas. And again, like I said, he could be right in some areas too. Everything he said wasn't necessarily wrong. I just pointed out, I don't know if you were here for the first half of the show, but I just pointed out so many of the good things that he talked about. But again, if you offer me consistent failure in an area, I'm limited on what I'm going to be asking you for advice on, man. And healthy relating is not one of those things. I'm not asking you about healthy relationship dynamics because you don't know what that looks like. You might have seen it, but you have not lived it. And that's 2 different things. I can look at Mike Tyson in the boxing ring and I'd be like, oh, damn, he throw a hell of a hook. And man, that uppercut is vicious. And I can tell people how to do it. But until I get in there and I know how to place my hips and twerk my, come on, man, it's different when you're in there real time making it happen. That's what I'm saying. Daryl says, exactly. He was a businessman who understood the issues of the black community. His knowledge was right. His motive was wrong. I don't even know that I could say his motive was wrong. He might have been actually motivated, by something altruistic. I don't know. But I say, I flip it and I say, maybe his motive was good. I don't know that. But his knowledge on what healthy relationship was, it was lacking. It was lacking. And I listened to a lot of his shows. I just told you, my wife used to ask me, why the hell are you listening? But I was listening to it because I was trying to get information on what was happening out there in the dating market. Because look, I've been out of it for 30 plus years. So the dating market is not my lane. You find your own wife, you find your own husband, and you come to me, and that's my lane. I can help you make that part shine. Right. But you got to find you on your own when it comes to finding your mate, because that's just not what I do. Let's see. Here's another thing. There are a lot, and I suffered from this early too. Hold on. Had to wet my whistle. One of the things I suffered from early in my marriage was this I have to lead complex. And I'm not saying anything other than what I'm saying. Don't read into what I'm saying. Let me see. So, do you believe career women make good wives? Generally speaking, it depends on the man. There are some men who want nothing less than a career wife. I got a buddy from high school. I was just talking to him a couple years ago at a class reunion, and he was making, I want to say, something like 200 grand a year. And he said the only way he's marrying a woman is if she makes what he makes. You can't be a housewife making what he makes. Not generally. I mean, maybe if you're a master on these internets, then you can. But what he was looking for was a career woman. So to him, yeah, I guess that would be a good wife. I think everybody's taste is different. What I'm looking for in a wife, a career woman would not be a good wife for me because I have different desires in my woman. I like my woman to cater to me from home, and I like for her to run business from home. So our dynamic is such that if she wanted to be a Fortune 500 CEO, that wouldn't work well with what I look for in my woman. I hope that makes sense. James says he challenged the energy he was getting by hurtful facts. I talked about that earlier. He says, how many successful wives have he really had an argument with? That's a good point. I don't think there was very much arguing with successful wives. But, you know, Kevin used to gaslight women too. And he would move the goalpost during the conversation. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. If he didn't get the answer he liked, then he would shift the narrative a little bit. He would move it a little bit. And, you know, he had his own thing that he was doing. So that is what it is. But yes, to your point, I don't remember him having very many arguments with successful wives. But here's the thing. For the most part, a successful wife wouldn't really have any reason to call into his show. Most of the people who call in his show were women who were trying to figure it out. You know, so that's that. Let's see. He says maybe Kevin Samuels was better at observing and analyzing and practicing what he preaches. Maybe Kevin Samuels was better at observing and analyzing than practicing what he preaches. Could be. Could be. It's possible. But again, I had some fundamental disagreements, just ideologically speaking. Here's one. I don't think that women are less important or less significant than men. I just don't. I think that's a very flawed premise. I think it's a very foolish ideology, but there's a lot of that being promoted that somehow men are just across the board more important than women. And I'm not talking about women being equal to men. Like, we know that there are areas that men are simply greater than women. Physical strength is one of them. Women cannot build what men can build. Physically, men are stronger and therefore more capable when it comes to the physical endurance, physical dexterity, et cetera, et cetera. All things physical strength related, men are typically going to outshine women. There are also things that women can do that men cannot do. Like one thing, namely, have babies. So physically, men are stronger. That's where the superiority ends. Men can't give birth to children, women can. Outside of those two things, I challenge you to show me an area of life that a woman can do something and that a man can do something and excel at it, that a woman is not also capable of excelling. Whether you're talking about things that require great deals or high functions of logic, whether it's chess or astronautics or math or science, like, you name an area that a man can excel and a woman can be trained to excel in the same regard. Now, whether she's interested in doing those things or not, that's a different conversation. I'm talking purely about capability. So in that regard, I don't see men as superior to women outside of physical strength. Gerald says, I'm late, but I saw him as a one-lane guy. He was often talking about value, and it was always looks for women and money with men. He had some decent points, but poor delivery, which caused many to be turned off by him. And it's more to relationships than looks and money. Absolutely. Absolutely. Marcus says, exactly. If your wife wants to be a career woman, and you needed her to take care of home base, how do you reconcile? Well, these are things that are supposed to be discussed before we marry. See, we're supposed to talk about our aspirations and our goals and our desires before we get married. Once you get married, it's not realistic, it's not reasonable, and it's not even fair to try to change someone's aspirations after you've already married them. So in that sense, how do you reconcile those things? You try to find a mutually beneficial arrangement that you both kind of can get what you want, particularly if children are already involved. If there are no children involved and you married before you had these conversations, then you need to reevaluate whether or not this marriage is going to work. But when children are involved, I think a greater sacrifice is necessary for the benefit of the children, and you still try to work out a mutually beneficial arrangement. I hope that answers the question. Daryl says, now it might be difficult, but women over 35 aren't always leftovers. I agree. That's another, he just did that live. He said women that are over 35 are leftovers. I disagree. There's a lot. There are women over 35 getting married regularly. And that's just that. He says women can't give birth to children without men. Absolutely. I have no argument. The point in that, I'm glad you said that. The point is that we are mutually, and I would go so far as to say equally necessary. We may not be equal in these different areas of life that things are expressed, but we are equally necessary. I see the relationship as symbiotic. I might even say complementary. There's a principle. So what I teach is complementarity, right? And complementarity just speaks to two differently qualified individuals working together toward a holistic, harmonious balance in the relationship. We are differently qualified. I can't do the things that my wife can do. She can't do the things that I can do. Yeah, maybe if we train, but the point is, no one head contains all knowledge. No single head contains all knowledge. So there's some things that she's simply more knowledgeable in than I am. There are some things that I'm simply more knowledgeable in than she is. That's not a competition. That's actually great, because the things that I don't know, if she knows them, damn, she brings that to the table and we win. There are things that if she doesn't know, but I know them, I bring them to the table and we win. We're not competing, we're cooperating, we're collaborating for the win, you see? Let's see. Aaron says, jumping in. So is this a debate or a convo? It's a conversation, brother. It's a conversation. Yes, because I've seen men with money get disrespected and women with beauty unloved. Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I mean, you said it perfectly. I don't even have to expand on that. You said it perfectly. There has to be more than just the superficial things that we've resigned to, family. Do me a favor, family. If you put up my this is Living Proof with the Love Alchemist. Quick commercial break. If you appreciate what I do, you want to support the effort, show me some love via Cash App. $ Love Alchemist 11. $ Love Alchemist 11. All right, back to the show. After a word from our quick sponsors. Agreement in your marriage. Man, listen, ain't nothing like it, bro. Ain't nothing like it. That is, I'm telling you, when you could find, even the Bible talks about it. I'm not a super religious guy, but where two or more gathered in my name, I am there also, right? I am there with them also. When you can have a man and a woman on one accord, man, the sky's the limit. But when you take a man and a woman and you have high levels of discord, the limit is the sky, right? You ain't going very far. Marcus says, but what about when you both feel like you're knowledgeable on this subject? How do you reconcile? Man, this is where healthy conversation skills come in, right? We can both be knowledgeable. There's nothing wrong with that, but we should be able to sit down and have a reasonable discussion, right? And then we should be able to sit down and determine together which course of action is most beneficial for whatever the endeavor is. And here's an example. My wife and I just came up. My wife just presented me with a business proposal. There's something that she wants to do. And I didn't really necessarily want to do it. It wasn't my idea. It's going to be pretty expensive. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't necessarily want to do it. But here's what I'm saying. Let me say it this way. Sometimes you determine what the win and the losses look like, right? And if we stand to gain more by what it is that she wants to do than what we stand to lose by me not wanting to do it, then the scales tip in her favor. Does that make sense? So it's not just about who wants it more, it's about which situation benefits or hurts the family more. And so if what she's offering or what she's suggesting looks like it's a more beneficial arrangement than me saying, no, I don't think we should do it. Or if me saying, well, we stand to lose a little bit, but what she's saying is, well, look at this, we stand to gain so much more. And not only that, not only do we stand to gain so much more, but the loss would be easily absorbed. You see, the loss would be, it would have a minimal impact to the point where even if we do lose, we could say, well, damn, nice try, but better luck next time. But we don't miss no meals. We ain't homeless. We ain't hungry. You see what I'm saying? We're not facing any serious adversity. So in that situation, if you want to call it her winning, yeah, she wins. And I don't have no problem with that, because ultimately, if what she proposed to me works out, the family wins. You see, and it probably will work out. So it's bigger than just us both feeling like we're right. It's about, I saw a meme one time that said, don't raise your voice, improve your argument. Right? Don't raise your voice, improve your argument. And I appreciate that cash app, brother Daryl. I see you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate the love. I hope that answers the question, Marcus. Let's see. Aaron says, yeah, of course, you and your wife coming together like you're supposed to. What did I miss? Oh, man, you're going to have to hit the rewind button, brother. We've been on here for an hour and a half almost, and we about to wrap it up. But what I did, I'll just give you a brief summary. I went over the good that Kevin Samuels brought to the table. And then so I guess probably when you came in, I was mentioning some of the detractors that he brought. One of the things, let me get back to these detractors real quick. One of the things that he did was, you know how when I don't know if I want to use this example or not, but I'll say this. We have a lot of men who aren't successful in relationship in our society, not just black men. This is across the board, right? About 50% or more of men from every demographic is single and about middle class and childless, right? But the way he presented that narrative, he said 51% of black men are single and childless and middle class. And the way he presented it was in comparison to black women, as if to say, look at how much better black men are performing than black women. And what he left out of that was the context that says, well, no, that's actually average, because every demographic is experiencing about those same results, right? About every demographic is experiencing 50+%, plus or minus maybe even a little bit, single, childless, and about middle class, right? So that's nothing special that black men are experiencing that dynamic. That's one. But here's the other thing. Your competition, if you're looking at it, isn't against the women in your group. Every man in each demographic typically outperforms women as far as being the one with the fewest amount of children, the one who makes the most money, and and so on and so forth, right? So your competition isn't against women. Your competition is with other groups of men. So you look at the different demographics, or I'm sorry, the different areas that men are judged or people are judged, and you compare men to men and women to women, right? That's the comparison, not men to women. No matter whether it's white men to white women, Asian men to Asian women, your competition is against other men. That's my point. And I didn't appreciate that. I thought that was a disingenuous point that he made. Let's see. Marcus says, where you at? Nah, that's how he was presenting it. He was just saying there are 50% of average men out here who can provide an average lifestyle for all these single women. Yeah, I mean, I hear that perspective. I think it was more to it than that. I think it was a little bit more lace than that. It was really to highlight this idea that women are generally deficient. Um, and the reality is that's not just a black people thing, that's an American thing. But the focus was on how highlighting the deficiency of black women. And so that's the challenge that I had with it. And again, there are black women who are certainly deficient in many regards. Black women are at the bottom, in many regards, just like black men are at the bottom. So of this social status, but that's a social thing more so than an organic thing. Aaron says, huh? I didn't get that from what he said. He was giving facts on the average man because of the 666 standard most women have adopted. Well, again, I do understand that. But again, that's a social thing too. Women of all demographics want that 666. That's the 6 feet tall, six figures, six pack abs, or 6+ inch, in the bedroom, right? Across the board, women want that. That still does not change the argument of comparing men to women, is what I'm saying, because every demographic of women want that, not just black women. He says he wasn't comparing men to women. Your buddies do that. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. But listen, man, I used to be an avid listener. I'm not just taking points from what I heard. I used to listen quite a bit. Now he brings up that those women don't want average guys. But again, that's a social issue. The overwhelming majority of, well, let me say it this way. I think what bears out is that women are pickier. And that's a biological function. Even when you go watch Animal Planet, man. You'll find that most of the wildebeest, most of the wild buffaloes, most of the gorillas, most of the elephants, they don't get to mate because the females want the best opportunity for their offspring. Now, again, we got a lot of sloppy behavior, a lot of sloppy reproduction taking place. So, and that's because we're out of order, right? We're out of balance. But if you look at the organic dynamic of relating between masculine and feminine, women typically look for the better achieving or the higher achieving males. This is why you have more than 50% of the men who are left without mates. That's just typically how it goes across the board. And damn near in every species, the higher performing males tend to get more options. Look, life ain't fair. Life ain't fair for humans. Life ain't fair for animals. That's just what it is. He said, yeah, you said it. Let's see. I live overseas, Broham. America isn't the world, fam. I don't know what you mean by that. Elaborate on that. In a capitalist society, yes. I mean, that's what we're in. We're in a capitalist society. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. Expound. And I'll move on to the next point while I wait on you to expound on that. Let's see, what else did I have? Let me see. I think here's another interesting post that I came across. This one was by brother Diallo Kenyatta. He said, "Keep that same empathy." He said, "All y'all who don't know Kevin Samuels personally, but feel sad about his untimely passing, you are being empathetic. All y'all who are denouncing people for mocking Kevin's death, you are experiencing empathy. Now that you are in an empathetic state of mind and you've demonstrated the capacity for empathy, let's build on that." Where are we at? Let me see. Okay. He said, "The reason people are not sensitive to Kevin's death," and I guess he meant some people, "the reason some people are not sensitive to Kevin's death and the sadness it provokes in you is due to Kevin's consistent lack of empathy for the people he deemed to have low and no value. Empathy is extremely necessary and good. It's central to one's own well-being and one's capacity to make positive impact in society. So much so that people who publicly fail to demonstrate empathy are called sociopaths and psychopaths." So take Take the empathetic state that Kevin's death has put you in and cultivate it, expand it, and allow your empathy to go beyond celebrities, high value men and women that you deem worthy of love and lust. Cultivate and expand your empathy to the vulnerable, to the impoverished, to the lonely, to the weak and the unemployed, the low and middle income earners, and the unknown Black men and women that Kevin made millions dunking on. If you do this, I promise the quality of your relationships, your intimate connections, and your entire life will improve. And when you die, everyone will lament your passing instead of you being mocked and memed for filth. That was cold. That was heavy. But that resonated with me, man, because people were so pissed, and I get it. There were a lot of people who were really, really pissed about how little some people seem to regard his passing. But I think that letter summed it up nicely in the idea that, in many ways he lacked empathy as it pertained to the struggling that that a lot of people were experiencing. Max says, "Shit, I'll be a psycho." Yeah. Marcus says those same people he showed no empathy for were the people who refused empathy for average to low man. Perhaps. And again, I mean, I think, like you say, one illness or one how they say it, two wrongs don't make a right, or have you? I don't know. Nah, people look right past fat women saying people look right past fat women saying they won't date average men. Look, man, I see a lot of relationships between people who are very average, man, and they making it happen. This high value conversation, this 6-figure conversation. I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of women who want that. Just like there are a lot of superficial guys out here who, want women primarily for beauty. We live in a world that cultivates superficial ideals, and that's part of the reason that we're struggling, right? I mean, just going back to the top of the show when I mentioned organic connections, man, we've lost a lot of that because our minds have been tainted by these superficial ideas, man. And so it's really just about getting back to homeostasis, just getting back to what's real and what's right and what's good, man. And we need each other as much as people like to try to make it seem like, that we don't. We really do, unless, yeah, I'll leave that at that. Aaron says, "Yep, Black people exist everywhere. The materialistic standard that exists here in the U.S. is part of choosing a mate doesn't exist in non-capitalistic societies." Okay, I don't mean providing either. Like everyone keeps reframing it. Yeah, and look, providing doesn't necessarily mean money. You provide mental and emotional support. You provide comfort. You provide a nurturing, and there's masculine and feminine provisions when it comes to that. So, and look, my wife makes far less money than I do, but she's still a provider. She's still a nurturer in more ways than just what we talk about with money. There's a comfort that I get from my wife. There's a nurturing that I get from my wife. There is an ongoing sense of making sure that I'm performing at my best and looking my best and feeling my best. Like she's always pouring into what it takes to keep me operating at a high level. You can't buy that, man. Like you can go out here and be, this kind of goes to that idea of getting that bag, making, $100,000+ a year, 200 and even more, right? And then you 50+ years old, and then you go out here and you start dating 25 and 30-year-old women. Oh, you can get them. You can get some of the prettiest women out here, but they're not really with you for an organic reason. They're with you based on what they think you can do for them. And at some point, men are human, man. We're human, and we want more than that from our woman. We want a woman who genuinely has our best interest at heart. And so I think with that understanding, we should begin shopping a little bit differently and begin taking relationships a lot more seriously earlier in life, rather than this promotion that we should be sowing our wild oats. I think that's a very dangerous idea to promote. Go out here and get as much as you can, and have fun, and worry about getting serious later. I think people are learning that the older you get, the more challenging it becomes. Whereas when we're younger, we tend to have much more organic connections that I think we don't tend to be as serious about those connections as we should be. Gerald says our Western way of doing things is destroying our family structure and community. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. Aaron says, "What's the financial standard again here in the U?" Yeah, man. It's wild, man. It's not a good look out here. So, people are struggling terribly. What else did I have? He had a couple. Man, I don't want to go into that because I had a couple ideas here, but I'm not going to go into that. Here's the thing: older men, and younger women. That's kind of what I just touched on. And Kevin was with a younger woman at the time that he died. She was like 30, 32 years old, and he's like 57 years old. So she's, damn near half his age. And while I think, I can understand that there may be some fun in that, we're getting older, man, and this brother, from what they're saying, we're still waiting on the autopsy report. So I don't know if the reports about him having a heart attack were real or not, but I will say this. That brother drank a lot of Red Bull. He drank a lot of Red Bull, and that Red Bull will mess with your heart, right? And another thing, as we creep up toward our 60s, the average man does not have the same type of sexual stamina that these young 30-something-year-old chicks have, man. Like you're 60 and she's 30. She's got more energy than you, more than likely, especially if that chick he was with looked like she was an Instagram model or something. She was young, she was fit. That's really not my opinion, right? My opinion, you take it for what it's worth, but that's not our lane, man. While it might be fun, I think we probably need something a little bit more in our speed. And so, you'll find a lot of guys that's up towards 60 and they pop in Viagra's, and I don't know that that's necessarily what he was doing, but young 30-something-year-old model, you popping Viagra's and you mixing that with with Red Bull. That's a recipe for destruction, man. And again, I don't know that that's what he was doing. I'm not saying that that's what he was doing. What I am saying, though, is that I know that that's a common thing to do for older men. Hell, you got men that are my age and younger that's popping Viagra. I don't pop Viagra, thank God. Appreciate you. We got to take care of our health, man. And let me set sidebar for this real quick. One of the things that we don't recognize, a lot of us don't recognize, is that when you're facing challenges with getting it up, getting an erection, facing impotence, that's a sign of heart disease. That's one of the first signs of heart disease. And it's a biological function that shuts your body down, that begins shutting down your reproductive area so that you don't reproduce. That's your body's way of saying you're not fit to reproduce. Get in shape, get your health up. When you're facing problems with your erection, that's your body's way of saying you're not fit to reproduce. And it's typically an indication of heart disease. Now watch this. What this society, what this world has done is it has offered us a way of bypassing that warning from our body. Our body is saying you're not fit. You're probably having health problems, heart problems. We got a blue pill for that. Pop this blue pill and you can bypass that heart issue. No problem. And a lot of men, listen, man, we're losing several 100,000 people a year to heart disease. Several 100,000. I want to say it's something like 700,000 people a year dying from heart disease. It's the number one killer, if I'm not mistaken. So it's no small issue, man. If you finding yourself having challenges with erectile dysfunction or any type of erectile issues, that's not time to get the blue pill, man. It's time to get checked out and start doing things to reverse those heart challenges. Heart disease is reversible, right? Heart disease is reversible, typically with a plant-based diet, right? Let's see. Let me go down here. Max says, yo, what an embarrassing way to go out. Yeah, man. I mean, he ain't embarrassed. Like, right, if you die, there's no embarrassment there, but it's definitely an unfortunate way to go, right? You're having the time of your life, and it ends up literally being the time of your life, right? We got to take care of our health, man. Aaron says he died like Mr. in Color Purple. So all that gay feminine stuff people were talking. Yeah, okay. Hey, I don't know what the man's persuasion was. There were a lot of people that said he was, that thought he was suspect. It is what it is. There are a lot of people who are not just, there are a lot of bisexual men out here too. So just because you're sleeping with a woman doesn't mean that you don't also, do some other things. So, and I don't know what he was doing. None of us knows that man's personal habits. I'm not here to vouch for him. I'm not here to defend him. It is what it is. Let's see. He didn't die in Thailand with the lady boys. Why is everybody tripping? Man, that's funny. Gerald says, cats don't understand health is wealth. There are many natural ways to keep the Peter popping. Yeah, man. Americans, we love the easy way out. Man, look. He said, should I be embarrassed beyond? I'll be embarrassed from beyond. Yeah, man. Look, back to Gerald's point. I think I'm gonna talk about that in my next live, man. Just talk about some ways to keep the Peter popping, man. There's some things we can do, man, definitely. And I'm gonna talk about natural ways of doing that. You want to stay as far away from them pharmaceuticals as you can, brothers. That's really not the move, man. That's not the business. They have all kinds of side effects, and there are certainly ways that you can get it popping without that. Here's a quick one. A 24-hour fast. Just go 24 hours with no food. Just drink water. 24 hours on just water. That will spike your testosterone like you wouldn't believe. And it'll improve your circulation. Excuse me. So a 24-hour fast with just water, you ain't gonna die. As a matter of fact, your body will thank you. Now, if you got, look, let me give a disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor. I'm just offering you some ideas that are known to be beneficial, that have been known to help, right? So a 24-hour water fast, and then right at the end of that fast, go work out, lift some weights, push-ups, dips, lift some heavy weights. Man, your testosterone will jump by about 2,000%. Thank me later. All right, and I'm gonna do a whole show on that, man. I think that'll probably be my next show. Max says yoga regularly might help too. Yep. Any type of physical activity, yoga will improve your circulation, man. Yep. All jokes aside, never sacrifice your health. Yep. That's real, man. Health is wealth, man. That's first and foremost, right? I think I talked about the good, the bad, and here's the uncomfortable truth, right? The uncomfortable truth is that we live in a world where, regardless of what you thought about Kevin Samuels, good, bad, or indifferent, we live in a world, especially if you thought what he said was bad, we live in a world where his perspective, his presence was very necessary. That's the uncomfortable truth. There are a lot of men with whom his message resonated. So as much as I might say, what I have to say about it, his message resonated with a lot of men, and that's not to be taken lightly, right? And I hope women also will begin to pay more attention to some of the concerns that men have, right? Ladies need to start being more cognizant of what men are looking for in relationship, and ultimately, man, we need to start having more healthy conversations about what a successful relationship looks like, man. What harmony looks like, what healthy marriage looks like, and normalize going to people with successful relationships to get your advice. You don't have to like my perspective. There's tons of people out here. Daryl is in the chat. That brother is solid. He's got a solid marriage going on. James is in the chat. He's got a solid marriage going on. Brother Garthion, Brother James. Man, why not more names coming to my mind? Brother David Grant has a solid marriage. I know a lot of brothers with solid marriage. So you don't have to, Brother Moncho, Aize, Maat. Man, it's a lot of brothers out here who are thriving in their marriage. So you don't have to like my perspective. All I say is find one that you do like from somebody who's actually winning, who's actually practicing and walking that walk, rather than people who are out here theorizing yet consistently failing. Oh, another one is OG Troy Knowles. That brother, He's making it work. Brother Max right here in the chat. Max, that brother's got it popping. There are a lot of brothers out here winning, man. It's not as uncommon as you might think. What's uncommon is the ability to relate harmoniously. And that's because we're rooted in so much ego that many of us can't see past our own desires, what we want, what we think, right? But the woman that you're interacting with, hopefully she's an intelligent being. And if she's not, then I got to question your intelligence for interacting with her, right? So, hey, talk to each other, man. Listen to each other. And look, I'm gonna throw this little book up here. Me and my wife wrote this book called The Hard Work Book, 31 Days to Mastering Your Relationship. You can get that on Amazon.com. If you go on Amazon, just type in 31 Days to Mastering Your Relationship. This is a book that my wife and I wrote together. 30 years of experience in here, man. Helping couples all over the world, man. And we also put together my wife, man. I say we, but my wife is the one that really did all the work in this. This is a word search, man. This is singles can do it too, but this is also couples fun, man. Couples get together, and she's got over 1,800. I mean, this thing is thicker than the Bible, man. All these word searches in here, man. But it's just good stuff to break the monotony, man. For couples, we do everything that we do is for couples, man, and to just kind of help relationships thrive. This can also be gotten on Amazon. The Ultimate Word Search, I think it's under the Conditions of Love. Just type my name in, Vaughn and Desiree Jackson. And we got several more books coming out, man. We got a children's book coming out. We have 2 children's books coming out. Actually, we got a dating book coming out for couples to get dating ideas out of. Those should all be out within the next month or so, or next couple months. But we just putting work in, man, trying to help couples, man, help couples thrive. Because it's real out here, man, and it's getting more and more challenging for couples to be successful. And so we're just trying to do what we can to counter that. And, like I said, man, we could ride off into the sunset and enjoy this, what we have. But we like trying to pay it forward, man, because it ain't no fun if the family can't have none, right? So my mission is to help as many couples as I can to thrive in their marriage. And when I say thrive in their marriage, it doesn't mean that your marriage is going to look like mine. Like, my goal isn't to make a clone of my marriage. My goal is to help you accentuate what your strengths are and to overcome what your challenges are. My challenges are not your challenges. Your relationship strengths may be strengths that me and my wife aspire to. The point is to help you get the most out of what it is that you have, not necessarily to mirror what it is that I have, right? So let me see if I got any more questions down here. We're going to sign off. I've been on here over an hour and a half now. Max says, many of Kevin Samuels fans don't want advice from us. That's true. That's true. And I addressed that earlier, man. Like I said, I wouldn't go to Shaquille O'Neal to learn how to shoot 3-pointers. I would go to Steph Curry, and that's because Steph Curry has a proven track record of being a prolific shooter, while Shaq has failed. Rest in peace to Kevin Samuels, no shade to him, but that brother has a consistent track record of failure in relationships. So I'm not going to that brother for relationship advice. He has no proven track record, and I'm not looking to emulate what he done. And I encourage any of you, if you're looking to emulate anything, find somebody who's actually winning in their marriage, who's modeling a successful marriage example, and then do that. Success leaves clues, right? See, there you go with that singles discrimination. No, man, I love my single brothers and sisters, man. Look, like I said, man, that if you like crossword puzzles, it's 1,800 of them in there for 1,800 words in that book. But seriously, I mean, I know you're just joking, but I've been out of the singles game, man, for over 3 decades. And so, trying to teach people what to do to find a mate. I got some decent ideas, but at the same time, Shaq might hit a free throw every now and then. That's me in the singles market. I really can't tell you how to get from being single. But when you find somebody that you want to be with, I'm a G at that. I can. I'm Steph Curry with that, right? I'm nice from Neverland with that, right? So, but you got to find them yourself, right? Hey, family, I appreciate y'all, man. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. And for that, I'm eternally thankful. Love y'all, fam. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night, man. Peace.